The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry resumes its hearings this morning in Pretoria. It's been on an almost 2-month-long break and has submitted that interim report to President Cyril Ramaphosa. 2 witnesses are expected to testify on political interference in police operations. Dozens more witnesses are set to take the stand in the coming months. Newzroom Afrika's Ziyanda Ngcobo is live for us from the capital. Ziyanda, good morning.
Thanks, Imana. Very good morning to you. And the 405 Nation, I've got Jeremy Michaels, the Madlanga Commission spokesperson. Let's get into it, because in your statements that we received in the early hours of this morning, spoke about the continuation of the theme around alleged interference on the part of Senzo Mchunu. Who's going to be on the stand?
Well, Ziyanda, as you know, good morning.
Good morning.
We generally do not announce ahead of time, and so the public will be informed when we start at 9:30 this morning.
What is that about anyway?
Well, it's a security measure, which, and as you know, the Commission has had to take extra precautions and measures to ensure that we secure the safety of our witnesses. And so this is not new. Those who follow the Commission closely and who work here know that we generally do not announce ahead of time who is going to be appearing when, but of course, and I think we have discussed, you and I, in a previous broadcast in recent days, the fact that Major-General Senona, the KZN Hawks head, is going to be appearing tomorrow, and the only reason that that's in the public domain is because he appeared briefly on the 26th of November, and Justice Madlanga ordered that he appear tomorrow, the 27th.
When can we anticipate the appearance of suspended Deputy National Commissioner Shedrick Sibia? I mean, you've mentioned this previous broadcast, you gave a couple of names, Sulaiman Karim, for an example, Shedrick Sibia, even the return of Senzo Mchunu, because what the Commission has been able to do is almost segment certain testimonies according to theme. So maybe Mchunu returning sometime soon, seeing that the 2 witnesses today are also going to be continuing off where he had left, and it was only dealing with the disbandment issue at that time.
There are quite a few questions there. So firstly, as you say, Lieutenant General Sibia will be appearing. He is under subpoena, but I'm not at liberty to say when that will happen, but certainly over the coming weeks and months. Minister Mchunu certainly will have to return to the stand, because when he appeared early in December, just before the Commission went into recess to write the report that we submitted to the President on the 17th of December, we only had time to deal with the issue of disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team, the PKTT. So, of course, there's a range of other allegations which he has to answer to, and of course, he has to give his side of the story. So Minister Mchunu will certainly be coming back.
An interesting conversation has been had, just for your benefit, with Jeremy Very, we'll bring him in shortly, about the investigative capacity of this Commission of Inquiry, which would then assist with almost fast-tracking, verifying, certain information when it comes to the allegations and testing those allegations. Are there any plans in place to actually bolster or even add such a capacity? It would also assist, I suppose, even with phase 2 of this commission, where many people actually need to respond, issues of WhatsApps, whether those WhatsApps real or not. I mean, you don't have that kind of capacity, and surely you need it if you are to finish by March as per the terms of reference.
Well, that is to an extent correct, that the Commission does have limited capacity. The investigative team, the legal team, the Secretariat have been working non-stop throughout what some would call the festive season. But behind the scenes, the team has been working to ensure that they advance the investigations, in this case specifically, and of course prepare for the hearings over the next few weeks and months. But the Commission doesn't have unlimited resources. And so certainly...
Why don't you ask for them? Perhaps even in the interim reports that you would have submitted, Mr. President. This is how much we've been able to ascertain. 45 days of testimony, 37 witnesses. However, Mr. President, we are struggling with A, B, and C.
Well, it is and has been an ongoing discussion, certainly internally and with the Department of Justice, which of course administers the budget for the Commission. When we started out, we announced that the budget was 147.8 million rands over 6 months. There has been an adjustment to the timeline as per the President's proclamation on the 26th of November last year, which of course, as matters stand, means that the Commission has to submit its its final report by the 17th of March. Now, clearly, that is going to have to be considered quite carefully because there's a very long list of witnesses currently under subpoena and others who will have to come and testify before the Commission, and we are only in phase 2. We still need to move into phase 3 where Lieutenant General Mkwanazi and others will have to come back to the Commission. And of course, you know, try as we may, it is not an entirely neat boxing process. And so there is overlap currently between phase 1 and phase 2. We are squarely focused on phase 2, but you can't just neatly box all the issues and themes that we need to deal with. And obviously it's a dynamic process as well, so we adjust as we go along.
All right, Jeremy Michaels is a spokesperson for the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. This particular aspect of the investigative capacity of the Commission is something that I do also want to pick up on with Jeremy Very as we now edge ever so closely towards the start of today's public hearings. It's the first public hearings of 2026. As I've mentioned, so far the Commission has heard 37 witnesses for 45 days since the 17th of September last year, and you've just heard from Jeremy Michaels. They're technically, according to the Gazette that was issued by the President last year, they're technically meant to be done by the 17th of March. Jeremy Very, as I now bring you into the conversation, but judging from what Jeremy Michaels had to say, it doesn't look like they'll be done by March.
Look, in new witnesses, we can't anticipate what potential new angles they're going to open up further. But what we can try and do to narrow the gap is to ensure that whatever new witnesses come after the affidavits have taken, that everything has been thoroughly checked so that the authenticity of something is not canvassed inside the Commission, but there already is a clear evidential basis.
So are you convinced by what he had to say about he admits, Mr. Michaels, that they are limited in their investigative capacity, but I think what makes this question so crucial is how open is this final report going to be to litigation vis-a-vis how carefully they tread as now we move in phase 2, and as he mentioned, there's still a phase 3.
Yes, he did indicate that more capacity, that it was raised, but it's not in the Commission's powers to me to actually go and find people and appoint them to bolster capability.
And I think that's he was not replaced.
Yes, I think that question should be directed elsewhere, to the presidency or to whoever has to resource this particular case. But the crucial thing to be, it's not so much how many witnesses you have down the line and how much documentation. It's the authentication of documentation, authentication of evidence, and the testing of what comes out of the first affidavit to check whether it is so that the Commission is arm the evidence leaders by what is not right and what is not probable in what is contained in the affidavit the person is going to testify to, and that those things can be teased out long before
Or
the
even
time.
little things, Jeremy, like if I say I lived at X address,
Yeah.
and I say I lived at X address, someone has to go verify
Verify.
whether I actually lived at
Yeah,
X address.
yeah.
And I think that is the limitation that perhaps, has not been fully ventilated, because anyone can come and say whatever it is that they feel like. But what you're saying is someone has to go and test the veracity of the evidence that is presented. And I'm not quite convinced that with the capacity issues from an administrative and legal aspect, that now even the investigative part is going to be enough insofar as the kinds of allegations that we're also dealing with here.
I think that definitely the investigative capability needs to be bolstered to enable that rapid delivery that one is required. And I think whether or not it is bolstered or not, and how efficient it would be, will be determined whether we face the same questions. Somebody quibbles about the CAS number being correct in the commission. Whether if those those issues come up again, then we will have a good yardstick by which to whether that capability was adequately resourced to deliver fast in time. But like I said, the big thing about this commission is, it exponentially exposes us to new questions that we didn't anticipate before.
Yes.
And you need a capability that is ready to work that proactively, even anticipate, okay, if General Mkhwanazi said B, and he said that about General Sibia, we should be working on, let's go through all the system. What did General Sibia say before, or what thing, so that before we get to that phase, we have already worked through and processed at least investigatively some information to tell us either General Mkhwanazi was wrong on one aspect, or General Sibia, when he comes, we will tell him, listen, you can't say this under oath.
And it's going to be very important, Jeremy Very, that fairness really reigns in this particular process, allowing people to respond, but also, again, testing the veracity of those allegations. And this is against the backdrop, Iman, of a political environment that's also going to heat up as the local government elections coming up. How much of an impact will what South Africans hear at a commission such as this one, how much of that will influence what they think of certain individuals, political parties, and the general state of play in our country? Iman, I'm handing it back to you.